If you don't know that already. And sometimes it's good to actually declare a PowerPoint-free zone. Yeah, see, thank you for that smattering. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up Jimmy Small. Jimmy is with the Iowa Speedway, and got to meet Jimmy just today for the first time. Some interesting things, originally from Detroit. And you haven't been here that long, have you? How long you been here? 13 months. So I said, what's the biggest surprise so far about living in Des Moines? And, you can make your best guesses. And I wondered what he was going to say. And he said, I'm surprised that so much is going on here. So we're destroyed some of your stereotypes, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, and we've done the same with NASCAR executives, IndyCar executives that have come out to spend time with us. We get them to stay downtown in Des Moines, and they're blown away by the music, the entertainment, and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent, excellent. So then I said, well, what do you study to become a NASCAR kind of guru, leader, general manager? And he said, economics, the dismal science. And he said, exactly. And he studied at Notre Dame, and all kinds of good things. So you want to launch into this a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
I think Sarah's actually, we're going to try and experiment. We're going to try and upload the presentation to the website and then tweet the link, and then maybe I could go through the presentation on the screen while you all follow from your computers or your phones. That actually might be fun to try. So we'll dive into that if and when we get that uploaded. But thanks for improvising with me.
Yeah, great. Well, we're just going to sit down and have a conversation in front of you. And so imagine that your PowerPoint was working. What was going to be your opening point?
My opening point was really to focus on engagement, which is what I was asked to do. And it was a good topic to cover today because just to give you a little bit of background on me, on Iowa Speedway and what's happened over about the last 18 months. NASCAR had the opportunity, September of 2013, to purchase Iowa Speedway. I was working in business development and marketing out of our Charlotte offices in North Carolina, and got a call from our chairman, Brian France, out of the blue. Was shaking in my boots because I missed the call and thought maybe I don't know, I thought I did something wrong. We play a lot of jokes on each other internally.
It makes sense to think you did something wrong.
Yeah,
right?
it did. Yeah. And so I called him back and he said, hey, we're looking at this opportunity. We want you to go work on a team that'll acquire Iowa Speedway, and then we want you to stay out there and run the Speedway. So I'm 27 years old at the time and going, I've never run a Speedway. I manage one person at NASCAR and had just started that months earlier. And so I was just in a whirlwind. I didn't sleep the next couple of days, and here I am, about 18 months later. But anyways, back to what NASCAR was looking to do with Iowa Speedway, why it acquired it, why I think they sent myself and a gentleman named Trent Staley, who's back there in the back of the room, is our vice president of marketing, why we were sent out here to work at Iowa Speedway, and that is really fan engagement. NASCAR launched about 2 or 3 years ago a program. It's called our Industry Action Plan. And our Industry Action Plan is meant to drive fan engagement across our sport, drive progress across our sport, drive fan growth, and ultimately revenue growth across the sport for tracks, teams, drivers, et cetera. So this Industry Action Plan had about 55, 60 initiatives. Trent and myself both led a number of them for a number of years, and we hit roadblocks at a number of racetracks in a number of markets throughout that experience that really limited our ability to implement some of these initiatives. So when we were presented with the opportunity to come out to Iowa Speedway, purchase it, and run it, we thought this was a great idea. This is a great market for us. We have more NASCAR fans here in the Midwest than any other part of the country, so a good place to be. There's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of enthusiasm. It's a great opportunity for growth. We all know Des Moines, Central Iowa is growing tremendously, or rapidly, but looked at that as a great opportunity to try out a lot of these new things. So NASCAR sent us out here, and we've spent the last 18 months really trying to come up with new ideas, working with NASCAR, working with IndyCar on ways to get the drivers more involved, get the fans, more involved with the drivers, with us as a staff, more, just becoming a bigger part or a better part of Central Iowa, and really embedding ourselves into the culture here. We're established in 2006,
right.
so we're under 10 years old. So becoming more a part of the culture, and hopefully, is that a good sign?
Could be. Could be. It's too early to tell, actually, but it could be. So when you think about it, seems like a massive undertaking to really rethink fan engagement, designing experience. Where do you start, and who do you gather around you to begin this process of these various initiatives and action steps that you're taking? Where do you even begin?
We were lucky enough to have worked on it for a couple of years already with other racetracks. We'd gotten feedback, but from the racetracks themselves. But NASCAR has a fan council of about 16 to 20,000. It fluctuates. It's called their fan council. They get feedback weekly from our race fans across the country. These are avid race fans.
What's the platform for the feedback?
It's a forum of sorts, where fans are, we send them out questions every week, and then they discuss. Are
there any council members here right now, fan council members here? None? Oh, man, we've got to get some of these marketers in.
Yeah, so fan feedback's really where it starts, getting a feel from our fans of, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we can do better, starting there, and then looking elsewhere, looking at what other sports properties, other entertainment venues are doing well, and then bringing that all together and really just launching a platform that can involve all of that, drive progress, lead to innovation, and ultimately growth.
So you look outside your immediate NASCAR world to other sports.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what can we bring in? What's an example of an initiative, maybe a story that you can tell us about how you've picked one, you've worked it, here's what we've learned in doing it? Am I putting you on the spot?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, make up something.
It's, I think good or representative, or what am I talking about? I've got mush mouth right now. Good example of areas we've really driven entertainment value is our pre-race activities. So, you look at what is done in the NBA or the NFL with player introductions.
Right.
You look in motorsports with things like Monster Jam or things like Supercross. Sure. There's high entertainment value that helps build the anticipation for the event itself, and that may be 5 minutes long and maybe 30 minutes long. But we've looked outside of our sport because, and this was a point I wanted to make, is we're all sports fans at Iowa Speedway. We're all race fans, but we're all sports fans in general. So we go to every other sporting event. We're fans just the same as everyone else. So establishing that common bond with the fans themselves and using that perspective as we build programs, as we build initiatives is really important, we think. And also making sure everyone understands that too, because that if they know we're sports fans and that's what we're ultimately, we're working every day towards building an experience that if we were sitting in the seats, we would be blown away by. So getting back to driver introductions, we brought in a professional marketing agency, entertainment agency to come out there, build a stage. We progressed each weekend last year, trying out new things. I think the coolest thing we did was we brought out a DJ from Los Angeles, brought him in, and he created a mashup that took, quotes from Talladega Nights and some other, racing quotes that are fun that everyone's, well aware of or has heard before, and then mixed them in with songs. And so each song that we played for each driver made sense for their personality. So each driver came out, they were energized. They really had no idea that they were coming out to a song.
So it was a surprise to them as well.
It was. And so we had one driver, his name's Ty Dillon. He came out and he basically jumped the stairwell. I couldn't believe it. And he just said he was so jazzed up. He was thanking us for doing something like that for him. But, he almost hurt himself pretty badly. And so that's...
Injured during introductions is driver number 35.
Risks of pushing the boundaries too far, right? So.
Well, I like that. that you're creating an experience for everybody. How many employees are you working with at the Speedway now?
We have 17 full-time employees.
Okay.
On an event weekend, we grow our balloon to around 400.
Are some of them volunteers? Some of them are just event staff?
Some of them are charitable groups. Some of them are high school groups, high school cheer teams. Is it up? All right.
It's up.
If you go to amaiowa.com and click on Racing the Bars with Engagement, that first image, you'll be able to open the PowerPoint.
Cool.
Does everyone want to try this? Probably better than
I'm enjoying
me
talking to you.
stumbling
But,
throughout. But
Yeah.
anyways, back to, so it's
Yeah.
300, 400 people. We have folks up there from Newton, Iowa that volunteer their time.
Right.
We have, high school cheer groups that come out and get a donation. It's just like a car wash you would see on the side of the road, except they help us park cars or help us hand things out. Guest services is a big piece of our operation. So, yeah, we get people from outside of the state as well. We get firefighters and EMTs coming from across the Midwest.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you wonder about, every one of us probably has employee workforces or groups that we work with. How do you get everybody aimed in the same direction? How do you get everybody committed to delivering the experience, or they're part of the experience? Especially when you have volunteer staff, you have people that don't work with you all the time, but you have 17 full-time people that are, bought in, sold out, and can communicate it. It's, how do you get that group of people aimed in the same direction to deliver the brand?
That's a really good question, and we launched or implemented a system that we're now improving, but we launched this last year. It's a guest services guidebook. That is a guidebook that both digitally and in print can be distributed throughout our immediate network of 17 folks, making sure that we're all on the same page as far as questions and answers. So if a storm comes in, how are we answering questions related to weather and the future of the event? If anything happens, we have answers to all those questions. We have maps to point people in the right direction. It's all about the customer experience at Iowa Speedway. And so taking that, we distribute that throughout the network. So we have managers and supervisors at each level, whether they work in parking, they work in the infield, they work in racing operations. They have access to this book so they can answer questions and really become advocates for us, representatives, ambassadors for our brand and our messaging to make sure it stays consistent.
Well, and it's one of those things that you wonder, you can do all this work, and in a heartbeat, one individual who doesn't know what the experience is meant to be can undo, for at least a small group of people, what
Certainly.
you're trying to accomplish. So it's fragile, and you've got to work hard at getting everybody aimed in the same direction.
It certainly is.
So what's going to happen here? Are we going to... Huh? Magic? Is it coming up? Huh? Well, you got the slides on this.
Is it up? So
Yeah.
could we switch the TV so I can see the
Yeah,
slides?
just want to go. And then, hey, this has been good getting to talk to you, and
Yeah,
I hope
thank
that
you
we
very
can talk
much.
some more. These people listened in, but that's
I know,
no big
right?
deal. Yeah, I love that. I love the fan guide, too. That's awesome. So you got the clicker? You need a clicker?
I do.
All right, clicker in hand. Make it happen, Jimmy.
Let's move these so I don't trip
Okay.
and fall.
Not like driver introductions. No jumping on and over things. Okay, I'll get this off the stage for you.
All right. All right, so slide one. Hope everyone's got these synced up. I guess I should probably yell it out as I change slides. It's just really an overview of what we're looking to talk about today, accomplish, and discuss. And then hopefully, we might be running low on time, but would love to open it up for questions and answers if anyone has additional questions. Slide two is who are we? So what is Iowa Speedway? I think I gave a pretty good overview of the background behind Iowa Speedway's purchase by NASCAR, what our goals were. So fan engagement being one of them, fan growth through engagement being another, but really pushing the boundaries on the entertainment across our sport. We want to try new things out. We want to experiment with new platforms, new programs, new initiatives, really incubate them at Iowa Speedway, try them out, see what our fans think, tweak them, and then ultimately distribute them or lead to the implementation of these initiatives across the entire sport. raising the profile of motorsports, not just within NASCAR, but IndyCar as well, and any other form of motorsports. We want the boats rising with the high tide. We're the fastest short track on the planet. I'll get into that a little bit later. That's part of our rebrand going into last year. It was something that had never been discussed before, really never been even considered, but as we started looking at the speeds around a racetrack with IndyCar coming up, I guess I should explain what a short track is. A short track in racing is a track anything under a mile in length. So we're a 7/8 mile oval. So we're getting up there close to a full mile. We have banking in our turns anywhere between 10 and 12 degrees, which allow race cars to go really fast and turn at the same time. So with IndyCar visiting us, we're the shortest track that they visit all season long. They average speeds at 185 miles an hour around our racetrack. That's an average speed. So that's while they're turning 185. They're hitting almost 200 miles an hour on our stretch. These drivers are athletes too. This is a coliseum where your strength, there we go. All right, your strength, your will are really tested. These drivers are like fighter pilots in the corners. They say it's like doing a U-turn in each one of our turns. So you're doing about 600 times a race, and they're experiencing anywhere between 4.5 and 5 Gs, which is like borderline passing out each time they make that turn. So. We are the fastest short track on the planet. That's something we're proud of. That's something we're proud, and hopefully you all are all proud of as being Iowans to have in your state. We are NASCAR owned and operated. I talked about that. The next slide is our vision. So what NASCAR had in mind for Iowa Speedway, leadership being the first one. So I talked about some of the initiatives that we're bringing in here, trying out. Trent and myself have ideas as well that we want to try out, that we have tried out, that we've gotten feedback on from our fans, that we've gotten feedback on from our partners, and then taking those ideas, documenting them, doing case studies, and sending them back to NASCAR, to IndyCar, to other racetracks. We want to be the leader in innovation, in progress across our sport, whether that be in business solutions, in entertainment value, any number of things that really drive our business. We want to be at the forefront of. We want, to be the racetrack on a hill. We want to be a world-class property. We consider ourselves to be one already. We're less than 10 years old. We have a beautiful facility there in Newton. It's the fastest short track on the planet, which really plants our flag in the ground across the world. We have race car drivers like IndyCar drivers that come from around the world. We have drivers from Western Europe. We have drivers from South America that come in that have huge fan bases outside of the United States. So we're really proud of having fan bases outside of the United States that watch Iowa Speedway, that anticipate, that really look forward to watching races here. But we want to take that to the next level. We want to try out sports. Other forms of sports. We want to try out other forms of entertainment, whether that be a concert, a music festival, any number of things. We want to be, considered one of the best in the business, whether that be, involved in NASCAR or not. All right, engagement. So I was really original with this slide and went to Webster's dictionary and defined engagement because I really didn't know what it meant. I had an idea, but exactly what it meant, wanted to look that up. So a couple of different definitions that were in. There we go. All right. In Webster's dictionary, we're to attract and hold by influence. Influence was a word that stood out to me there. To induce to participate. Participate was another word that stood out to me there. Emotional involvement, emotion, and we'll get into why emotion is so important. I think we all know that in the room. And then commitment, engagement at certain levels is certainly a commitment. What I wanted to focus on are the quality of engagement and its relationship, I guess you could say, with the concept of friendship. Friendship is really how we're approaching our engagement at Iowa Speedway right now, and I'll get into what that means. So next slide is qualities of friendship. I just wanted to go through these real quick and we'll breeze through. But a friend is loyal, a friend is attentive, they're kind, they're caring, they're respectful, they're comical, they're entertaining, they're fun to be around, they're someone you trust. That's a quality of friendship. And so at Iowa Speedway, we want to be your friend. We want to be the person, or not the person, the racetrack that you trust, the racetrack that you know is going to put on a good event, the racetrack that you enjoy being at, the racetrack that introduces you to new things, introduces you to new other friends. And so that's what I wanted to point out here. Let's get friendly. So a friend wants to feel, I wanted to point this out too, a friend wants to feel important and appreciated. Our fans want to feel important, want to be appreciated, and we certainly believe they're important. We certainly appreciate them, but we need to demonstrate that. And so that's really where we're going with this on the engagement level. They want to be understood. They want to be comfortable. So the feedback that we're getting back from our fans, we really focused in on, because we want to make sure they're comfortable when they're at the racetrack with us. We want to make sure that they're understood, that they feel like they're being heard, that their experience is personal, but also that the Speedway's doing their part. This isn't a transactional relationship. This is an investment made by each one of our fans, and we owe it to them to do everything we can to make sure their experience is wonderful. And all of that leads to being entertained, having enthusiasm both ways. This leads us to sports. So, and this is random, but I'll show you. I think there's a connection in my head. But, qualities of sports I wanted to point out, and this is an awesome image, by the way. No pun intended with the first point, but the image that we're looking at here is really a historic moment at Iowa Speedway, probably an iconic moment at Iowa Speedway, a historic moment definitely in the sport of NASCAR. This happened a few years ago. On the final lap of the race, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won here 3 times, he's the leading race winner on the Xfinity Level Series side. He's in the number 6. And then in number 60 is Carl Edwards. He's a superstar on the Sprint Cup Series level, if any of you have heard that name. He's been in a lot of Subway commercials, things like that. So we had the benefit of him coming out here and racing, and they were racing for the lead. Coming out of turn 4, so the last turn, they're going hard, and we're dropping the checkered flag, so it's a race to the start-finish line. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pushed it so hard in the last few laps, his engine blew up. So something in the engine blew up. Smoke, came out of the engine, and Carl was right behind him. So if you look at the in-car camera, Carl went completely blind. So because of the smoke, Carl couldn't see. It was like driving through dense fog. Carl couldn't see and went right into the back of Ricky and pushed Ricky, because Ricky was slowing down right across the start-finish line. So Carl actually gave Ricky his win, and then the cars were damaged. They actually left him out on the front stretch, and they had to walk to victory lane. It was a whole thing. So that was really, really cool. But that's, I guess, sort of an explanation of why sports are so awesome, right? They're unpredictable. They're real. They're not scripted. Miracles can happen. That I wouldn't call that a miracle, but it was definitely strange and unexpected. There are rivalries, but a huge part of it is the unity that comes from, oh gosh, you're going to lose me. You're going to lose me if I don't have my home. Is the unity that comes out. You've got, sports give you a reason to get together with your friends. Sports also give you a reason to be friends with someone else, right? We've all been in a bar. We've all been in a stadium where we're together with some friends, maybe no friends, and, the minute our team scores or does something crazy, we're hand in hand, or we're hugging each other. There's unbridled enthusiasm, and sometimes sports and moments in sports are the only time that you can express those emotions, and that's what's so fantastic, and that's what leads to the last point about emotion being so critical to what we do and the connection here. So sports and friendship, I think I just covered all of these, but common love and loyalty. There's a loyalty to something other than each other that you both have a common love for. There's unbridled emotion. So sports sort of give you moments with your friends that you may never do in any other circumstance. It's like hugging your buddies, or just screaming or crying even in certain cases. I think we were talking about a Pats fan earlier that cried after that interception on on Sunday, and I totally understand that. I've been there before, but new and more friends. So I pretty much covered these all already. But sports and friendship really go together, and we have the benefit of working at a racetrack where we're focusing on friendship and we have sports to offer. So we get to why engagement. So the first point is discretion. So discretionary income, we're competing with all sorts of leisure activities or entertainment options, anything that someone may choose to spend their discretionary income on, we're competing for. The next point is proliferation of technology and social media. So now that technology is everywhere. We were just a second ago following the presentation on our phones, and social media is, so ubiquitous. It's really provided a platform for a deeper fan engagement. So before it might have been, in-person interaction or direct mail pieces that were, happened intermittently, weren't all the time or on demand. And now we have the opportunity as a brand, as Iowa Speedway, as a property, to sort of personify ourselves. So that really changes the game. It really allows us to dive in deeper with fan engagement, generating meaningful dialogue. So again, speaking back to the feedback that we're looking for to create a better experience, meaningful dialogue really gets us there. If we're open to receiving that feedback, if we're providing responses back to help our fans understand where we're coming from or where our thought process is, it leads to better relationships, again, more meaningful dialogue, better feedback, and then that emotional connection. So when you have meaningful dialogue like that, when your fans feel like, when your customers feel like you care about them, that you're listening, that you're going to respond back to them when they provide feedback, there's where you really get to that friendship level. Again, it's hard to be friends with the racetrack, but the racetrack personified is what we're going for here. So what is successful engagement with that said? So friendship, when you reach that level of friendship, what happens? It's easier to get in touch with your fans. So if you send an email, if you send a direct mail piece, any form of marketing, any form of engagement, whether that be on social or any space, they're more likely to listen in, right? They're less likely to ignore that because you're friends. They have a bond there. They trust you. They're loyal to you. You're going to spend more time together. So if we're more engaging with fans that only come out and see us for one race, 2 races a year out of the 10 that we'll have this year, if we're more engaging, they're more likely to come out for an additional weekend, for additional race, maybe even buy season tickets. It leads to more friendships. So the more time they spend with us, the better time that they're having, the more engaged that they feel, the more ownership they take on, and the more likely they are to develop relationships with each other. And so part of this is not just building friendships between us and our fans, but creating opportunities for them to build better relationships with other fans, creating this network, this atmosphere, this culture that everyone enjoys going to and repeating year after year. So this gets us to objectives. Who am I looking for in time? Am I doing all right on time? Okay. Holy cow. All right. Objectives, so assimilation, ingratiation, innovation are the first 3. So we're young, we're established in 2006. NASCAR just came out here, new direction, new ways of thought at the Speedway. So we want to make sure that the Speedway, before we really start innovating, that we fit within the culture, that we're embedded in the culture, that people think of us as a premier sports and entertainment facility, one to look out for if you're looking, one to put on your schedule every single year. Ingratiation, we want to make sure that everyone enjoys spending time with us, that they like our brand, they like our message, they like what we have to offer. Innovations where we take it to the next level, focusing on fan engagement, but what can we do to go further? What ideas does NASCAR have? What ideas do we have internally to take that engagement to the next level, whether that be, like we talked about earlier, driver introductions, and then some of the examples I'll show in a second. All of this leads to establishing advocacy. So establishing advocates across the market that are recruiting their friends to come with them, because that improves the experience. And then ultimately, that leads to growth. Gosh. So the first step in that, gosh, I'm going to have to go fast. So the first step in that is the rebrand. So I mentioned some of these other, but commitment to value. These are major investments that are made by our fans from their discretionary income. So we want to make sure that they feel they're getting the most value out of that investment each and every weekend. So that has been a really big focus of ours since last year, and that really leads to a platform that I'll get into in a second. Innovation I've already talked about. Consistency, whether it be our brand message in market, our branding and signs at the racetrack itself. We want to make sure when you go to the racetrack, you feel at home, you feel like what you invested in is exactly, what you're getting is exactly what you thought you were investing in. And then it's more personal. So you can do it your way, but there's a connection there with Iowa Speedway itself, that you have this bond with it, that you can provide feedback to help you better personalize your experience, and we're doing exactly that. Personality is a really big part of that. I mentioned a little bit of this already, but social media providing that platform to personify our brand. We want to make sure that everyone knows that we're sports fans, just like any of our fans. We want to make sure that they understand that we're Iowans as well. We're sports fans. We're innovative, but we're fun. Like, we like to have fun, and this is a good photo. This was from last year. I think we had huge snowfall the week before, and then it got up to 60 degrees on like a Monday. So we did a video. I don't know, it was okay, but we did an Instagram video and had everyone dressed as if it was like it was like Hawaiian shirt day at the office, and did a little dance, and then took this photo. But that's our staff right there. That's not all 17, because we needed someone to take the photo, but we had a lot of fun at lunch that day, and that's what we are. We're professionals first, but we like to have a lot of fun going to all sorts of events, and we like to have fun when we're working our events as well. That's why we work in sports. That's why we love working in sports. This leads to fans with benefits. So going back to innovation, going back to commitment to value, we developed the Fans with Benefits platform package. This is really driven to primarily reward our season ticket holders that have been so loyal to us since 2006. We have a really strong base of season ticket holders up at the Speedway that are just wonderful, wonderful people, and they've stuck with us and really led to NASCAR purchasing Iowa Speedway, considering it such a worthwhile investment. So we want to provide back to them unparalleled perks, best-in-class customer service. I've pretty much covered that already, demonstrating our appreciation, demonstrating our loyalty back to them. So you've been so loyal to us for all these years. We're looking to provide you more value. We're looking to recommit ourselves to you. And so that really leads us into our campaign for season ticket renewals from this past season, which we had a lot of fun with. We basically looked at last summer as the first summer of NASCAR ownership. So it was sort of like that song from the Grease movie, The Summer Lovin'. And we were looking to follow up after the summer with a package that was meant to really take commitment to the next level. So we had a lot of fun. We had a summer fling with our fans, and now we want to take it to the next level. So we created a tangible, a collectible item. We actually have authentic lug nuts, which are the 5 pieces that connect a race tire to a car that you see popping off all the time on pit stops. We ordered many of those, put them in a ring box, a branded ring box, and then that came with a marketing piece that asked our fans to say yes. So we had a lot of fun with that. We had drivers that we worked with on the NASCAR and the IndyCar side that would propose with the ring box on Vine videos, on Instagram videos, on photos. The drivers loved doing it because it was something that was irregular. It was unique to anything they had seen before. And then we had fun with some of the lines. So a diamond is grand, but a 7/8 mile oval is a girl's best friend. We had a number of pieces that we threw out socially and through direct mail pieces, but a lot of fun. Our fans got something out of it too. It wasn't your standard direct mail piece. It was a keepsake, and something we'll build upon each season moving forward. So what are the benefits? We really launched this last year, and you can see as this kid has this sort of a credential item. It's almost like the Willy Wonka golden ticket that we created. So we randomly upgrade our season ticket holders with a number of different things. In this case, it was I think his father had won a pace car ride for the two of them. We had Rusty Wallace, who's a NASCAR Hall of Famer, come out and actually give the pace car rides. We took fans from any different number of seats, brought them up to a suite. We have a fan suite that we upgrade 30 fans a race for. We do all access in the garage, which is behind the scenes. It's basically like being in the locker room of any other sporting event. It's exclusive. You can't buy it. You can't get it unless you're a race team sponsor or you know someone high up at the racing level. And we were able to acquire some of these assets by working with NASCAR, working with IndyCar, and provide them back to our fans as thank you. So they weren't expecting it at first. We just surprised them with it, and the feedback we got was that this was a program that they wanted to continue. So had a lot of fun with that. We're building on that now, and really a staple, or the large part of our program. Another piece within the Fans with Benefits program is our Let's Party. Is again, going back to what we like to do, we like to have fun. The photo below is a post-race party, and I showed one earlier too, is a post-race party we threw at the end of the season. Again, we did it, I think we decided 2 weeks out that we were going to put this party together. It was something we had been talking about for years at NASCAR, and we finally got the okay from NASCAR to basically let fans come down on the racetrack as soon as the race ended. All right. And we actually had about 5,000 fans stay over, come down on the racetrack. We had a DJ, we had a stage. We gave away a bunch of different merchandise, but we had drivers that stuck around. This is Brad Keselowski, the Sprint Cup Series champion. He's a huge name in our sport. He had won the race. He had a race in the Poconos the next day. He had probably a 2.5-hour flight back the next morning, and this is probably 11, 12 at night, and stayed out because he loved the energy. He loved what he saw going on. This was something he had never seen before. It was something our fans loved. We threw a party that our drivers stuck around for. It's kind of like throwing a party at your house and having a celebrity from a movie or a singer or a musician showing up, and your friends get a chance to meet that celebrity, that person. So that was a lot of fun. We have holiday parties at the end of the season. We have a season ticket holder party at the beginning of the season. We have a Daytona 500 viewing party in about 2 weeks. So we engage our fans, whether in season or out of season. We try to stay at their top of mind around the 12-month calendar. Snow shovel. This is something we tried out a couple of weeks ago. It's been something we've playing with. I could probably end with this. We got, I think, 6 or 7 inches of snow on, January 5th. I was sitting in my office, and we thought it might be fun to try this out. We thought it was a good opportunity to show our appreciation away from the racetrack. It was right at the same time as our season ticket renewals were finishing up. And so we sent a tweet out with about 30 minutes before the end of the day and said, I will personally come to your home tonight, clear your driveway for the first person to call, mention this tweet, and buy 4 new season tickets. We got about, I can't remember how many calls, but I followed up with them around 5 o'clock while it was, just snowing cats and dogs, I guess you could say. And I finally got in touch with a family that was willing to let me come to their house and shovel their driveway. It took about 6 families that I had to call. The first 5 told me I was stupid. I was out of my mind. And I'm not kidding either. This one actually continued to say I was out of my mind. I said, I'm sorry, I committed to this. I have to do it. Will you please just let me come to your house and shovel your driveway? So this was really, really fun to do. Gave us huge earned media. We got Fox Sports to pick it up. NBC Sports picked it up. NASCAR.com covered it. Local media here in Des Moines covered it. A ton of earned media out of nothing, really, a couple gallons of gas maybe that it took me to get to Linville that night. Got a chance to spend time with this family. That was awesome. So again, speaking back to feedback, engaging with our fans, it was more than just going to their driveway, showing up, shoveling, and going, hey, can you take a photo so I can prove to everyone I did this? It was, I went into their house. They offered me dinner. I had eaten earlier, so I passed on the opportunity, but we talked for probably 30 to 45 minutes before any shoveling began. I got to know the Fraker family, and they're wonderful people, and actually took some feedback back from them that we delivered to our staff the next day for implementation this season. So sorry, I'm gonna cut it short. I guess the rest of the presentation's up, so thank you all for your ears. Thanks for your time, and I don't know. Have fun the rest of the day.
Before Jimmy leaves, anybody have any questions? Just kind of a quick question or two. Anybody? Bueller? Where at? Over here? Okay, what's your question?
Who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
We're not supposed to have them. But Brad Keselowski, I was pointing him out, he was throwing a hat to the fans. He and I are from the same hometown, so suburbs of Detroit. And I'll say this. We were in Vegas a couple years when he won the championship, and we got teamed up on a beer pong team in Las Vegas at a hotel. And we lost, but we had a lot of fun together, so I consider him a teammate and a friend. And being from the same hometown, going to rival high schools, I guess he's probably the guy I pull for if I pulled for anyone.
Very cool, very cool. Hey, I've got something here for you from Chocolate Storybook, because we are deeply committed to not just eating, but eating chocolate. A little bit of a gift, and say thank you, Jimmy, for being with us today. Great to meet you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you here, too. Next presenter. Next presenter is SteveKing. Steven is the director of the Des Moines Arts Festival. And like Jimmy, not originally from Iowa, but has been here for 9 years or so, from way, way south in Texas down by Houston, even farther, more like Kerrville. Yeah, Houston's good. Yeah, that counts. And looking forward to what you have to say. Good to have you with us today. And Steven, I'll get out of your way and let you do it.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me. I got to say, I had the pleasure of meeting Mike this morning, but I would have enjoyed having a conversation. But as a visual arts festival, I'm really glad the visuals are back. I'm just saying. So, thank you very much. Well, maybe they're not back. So maybe there we go. Excellent. I see it down here. Let me make sure I've got everything working all right. Do we have it up on the? Isn't that serendipity, right? So a few months back, Drake Relays, their theme this year, Raising the Bar. We threw our design out on the sidewalk on Court Avenue for the Drake Relays, Raising the Bar. Here we are today, raising the bar with engagement. I'm really excited to be here this morning and really excited to share with you a lot about the Des Moines Arts Festival and about what we're doing really on a day-to-day basis. I want to give you a little perspective about my story and where I've come from and how I got to this place, because I think perspective is a big part of what we do. I'm one of those people who's now doing something that I never planned on doing. I went to school. I have a theater background. I have 2 degrees in live theater. Some say every day I'm doing that, but that's what I went to school for. I got a master's degree at the University of New Mexico. Before that, I got a BFA at Sam Houston State University in lovely Huntsville, Texas. Right after I graduated from undergraduate, I went back to Houston, where I grew up, and I did what every theater graduate does. I started waiting tables. A little bit after that, though, I got connected with this lovely place, St. John's School, where I started teaching theater, and I taught theater for 7 years. Anybody recognize this? It's also where Wes Anderson, Academy Award nominated director, and his Grand Budapest Hotel just won the Golden Globe for Best Picture. He went to school and had his breakout hit at St. John's School called Rushmore. So, if nothing else, a little Wes Anderson in my life is always kind of a cool thing. But when I got out of, I realized that while I was at St. John's, I was there for 7 years, I realized after a little while that I never wanted to spend another day of my life with a 7th grader. So I decided I needed to go back to school, get my master's degree. I went to University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, and I realized that while I was in New Mexico, I realized that I could make a living, full-time living, doing what had been best described before that day as other duties as assigned. We've always seen that, right? There's that little bullet point at the end of everybody's job description that is as other duties as assigned. And I had been doing events, whether it's a fundraiser or whether it was something else, for really a pretty long time. But I'd never really been paid to do that, so I was pretty excited. While I was going to graduate school, I started working for the special events department at the University of New Mexico. We produced great events, things in the pit, live concerts, Reba McEntire, Brooks and Dunn, but our real claim to fame was the Metallica show. 1994, we produced the first and I think the only concert event on the football field at University of New Mexico. Can you imagine if we walked into the offices up north of here and said, hey, we'd like to produce the Metallica show in Jack Trice Stadium? It probably wouldn't go over very well, and it didn't go over very well there. It was a great concert, it was a great event, but we sort of tore up the football field. I met my lovely wife in Houston, Texas, where I was teaching at Rushmore, and we went to while we were in New Mexico, we got pregnant with this lovely lady who's now about 20 years old, and I offered my wife Shemaine insisted that our child be born on Texas soil, and the offer for me to drive to the border and pick up a little dirt and throw it in a bag and have it ready so we could throw it underneath the bedpost. Didn't really go over very well. So we got out of New Mexico and we moved to Fort Worth, Texas, where my wife had a very lucrative job offer. I did not. I had a master's degree and no job. About 3 months after we got to Fort Worth, I started interning for a company called Downey Productions. My job was to be the guy on the ground in Fort Worth to produce the Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival in Fort Worth, Texas. 3 years later, I was the director of the Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival. It's a 4-day arts and cultural festival. It draws about 500,000 people to downtown Fort Worth, about a $1.8 million budget. It was a huge, overwhelming experience for me. But it was one of those things where I got into it and I realized I'm making a living here. I'm actually doing what I love and getting paid to do what I love. Isn't that a remarkable thing? The idea of being able to create community and create something that is as beautiful and wonderful as the Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival was really something special to me. I produced festivals all over the country. Bastille Days in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's Celebrate Fairfax in Fairfax, Virginia. Of course, Guide One Imagineve here in Des Moines, as well as Skywalk Golf. Parade of Lights in Fort Worth, World Food Festival, and of course, the Main Street the Des Moines Arts Festival. Really a terrific event. How many of you have attended the Des Moines Arts Festival? If you haven't, go ahead and raise your hand anyway, just so I know that I don't have to beat you up afterwards. I'm now I feel very connected to the industry that I love. I sit on the World Board of the International Festivals and Events Association. I'm on the foundation board for the same organization. I just rotated off of the board of the National Association of Independent Artists. My point is I'm very engaged with my industry. I love this industry. I absolutely love festivals and events because to me, festivals and events are about building community. They're about going inside your community and finding out what makes them tick and really driving that home and making sure that we all have a place to go, all have a place to celebrate who we are as a community. In this particular case, we celebrate the arts and culture in our city and in our state. But to me, festivals and events worldwide, everybody I meet, I sit on the board with folks from around the world, and all of them come back to the idea that we're all building community. And that's one of the great things about Des Moines. The Des Moines Arts Festival got its start as Art in the Park. Some of you might have, probably not, but there's a lot of young faces in. Okay, there, thank you very much. Art in the Park started back behind the Des Moines Arts Center. For 40 years, it took place back there. Folks walked through the pine needles and the mud, and it grew to the point where it was time to move it. These are some couple of great historic shots of the festival and someone buying a giraffe, it looks like. In 1998, it moved downtown to the bridges. There was an idea that it had gotten too big. There was also a great resurgence in the downtown. So therefore, the festival, a lot of very smart people decided that it needed to move downtown and really create a sense of community in the downtown and help the downtown grow. We often joke in our office that if you want an area of downtown redeveloped, just ask us to move the festival there, because it seems like cranes follow us no matter where we go. We actually moved from the bridges. Why did we move from the bridges? Because the great folks at the Principal Financial Group decided that they wanted to build the Riverwalk, and the construction would have gotten in the way of us producing the festival. Now we have this fantastic Riverwalk that we can participate in. Here's a great shot of us when we moved to the western side of downtown. What's missing there? Well, the Wellmark building is missing there for right now, and just to the corner, you can also see in this shot, this is the two Nationwide buildings that don't exist yet. But again, cranes on the right, cranes in the back. The sculpture park is not quite in yet, and we even take advantage, of course, as we do, of just about anything that's around us. So if you're going to put up a construction fence, we're going to paint it white, and we're going to let you color on it. So that's kind of who we are. It's kind of in our DNA to do those kinds of things. And this year, hopefully, we're knocking on lots of wood. Once Come and Go comes in and develops the north side of Grand Avenue there by 15th Street as their own, we will be done with cranes for a while. I'm not sure there's really anything left on around the park that can be redeveloped after they have come and gone. So we're pretty excited about that part. So what is it? What is it about the Des Moines Arts Festival that makes it so good, makes people coming back, drives our audience, keeps visual artists coming from across the country? One of the things that a lot of folks don't know is that the Des Moines Arts Festival here in Des Moines, Iowa, is one of the most competitive professional juried art fairs in the country. We get around 1,000 applications every single year for our 195 spots. That's pretty competitive, and it competes with all the major cities across the country and all of festivals that are much bigger than ours are. So we have to keep asking ourselves, what is it? What's the thing that drives us home? What's the thing that makes us really stand out from all of the other events across the country? What is it that keeps all of you coming back year after year, looking forward to the festival? And what is it that the International Festivals and Events Association looks at our festival and grants it the Gold Grand Pinnacle Award, identifying it as the best festival in the world? We won this in 2014 with last year's festival. I got to tell you, it came just at the right time. Any of you that have participated or came to the festival last year know that we had one of the worst weather years on the books. It was a wicked, wicked year when it came to weather. But the award goes to the way that we market, the way that we promote, the way that we outreach, the way we communicate with our sponsors, and who we are as an organization. So, of course, it was quite gratifying to receive this award this past year. So what is it? What is it about the Arts Festival that makes it just the incredible thing that it is? When I figure that out, I will come back and let you know. But for us, I think that's part of our journey, is that we're always asking, what is it? What is it that drives you? What is it going to get you to my event? How am I going to continue to improve upon the experience that we are providing as the Arts Festival? We're always, always asking those questions. We keep searching. What is it that excites us? What gets us up in the morning? Why would we endure that kind of weather? Why would we pay $5 for a beer? We keep asking these questions over and over and over because we don't want to remain stagnant. We want to always answer that question. Not only is it the question about what's new, which the media asks every single year, but we also want to excite ourselves and be interested ourselves in what we're doing on a yearly basis. That's really weird because when I see that change, it startles me like we're going to run out of visuals. So every day we are pushing the envelope. We're asking the questions, right? I'm the guy in the room that you don't really want to bring an idea up to because I'm the guy who's going to say, well, why not? Why can't we do that? Let's explore that a little bit, even if it's sort of a harebrained idea. Any of you that have been to the festival know that we do things in a variety of ways. You've seen things that are really big. You've seen some things that are really small. But we're always asking ourselves, why not? Nothing as far as I am concerned in my role, in my leadership role, is off the table. No, we can't do everything that people bring to us or that we think of. We start with a very long list. You saw in that last image, actually, on one side of that image is DMAF 2015, and on the other side of the image is my long laundry list of things that I'd like to do. See that up there? That's one image. I love this picture because this is one of our first meetings for 2015. And as we came off of 2014, we have this long laundry list of the kinds of things that we'd like to explore and like to do. And then we start 2015 with a blank slate. What did we like to do? How would we like to engage further? My perspective is that you have to create a culture of expectation and innovation. Always, in everything that you do, everything. Des Des Moines Arts Festival is a mission-based organization. That's how we make our decisions. We make our decisions coming off of our mission and our core values. Our core values are very, very important to us because if you ask me a question about something that we can do or want to do, the core values are going to help me answer my question because we need to stay on track as a mission-based organization. We strive to educate, inspire, and engage all of you, our audience, our guests who come to the festival. If we can't inspire you, if we can't educate you, if we can't engage you, if we cannot engage you, the answer is no. And even if initially the answer is no, we like to see if we can find a way to engage you. Take that idea, it's a great idea, but there's no engagement. Let's find the engagement piece. We celebrate original art. When you come to the festival, everything you see and buy, it's original. It's not a copy of something, it's original. That's very important. It goes back all the way back to the core values of the Des Moines Arts Center. Who founded this festival. So we want to keep that in mind and keep that moving forward. We respect and celebrate the involvement of everybody. We're a free event. We're accessible to everybody. We want to keep it free. We want to engage our community as much as we can. There's a lot of collaboration that happens within our festival. We deliver the highest standards with integrity and accountability. Very, very important to us to be transparent, to act with you, to collaborate with you in an honorable way, and to make sure that each of our partners that are participating in the festival are doing it with pride and doing it with transparency. And this is one that I really love. We are always thinking about how we can be innovative, how we can push the envelope, how we can push forward, how we can harness new and creative ideas, not only for the betterment of the festival, but of the community and for our industry. One of the things I'm really proud of each and every year when I go to the IFEA convention is that people are looking to the Des Moines Arts Festival as those who are pushing the envelope. We are answering a lot of the questions here in Des Moines that people are asking from around the world. This is our brand. This is our logo, our mark. And I threw this in here really the other day, quite frankly, because I saw that Spindustry was sponsoring this meeting today. Spindustry built our brand for us a few years ago in 2012. We had a really boring, awful brand, to be honest with you. And the great thing about our brand is that it's so subtle. It speaks directly to who we are, directly to who we are. I love looking at it all the time. I love wearing it. I love seeing it on a piece of paper because every time I see it, it reminds me of who we are. It looks like a small little swirl, doesn't it? Looks like a little chaotic little circles that my 8-year-old could have drawn on a piece of paper. Well, you know what? You're kind of right, because that does speak to us. We are a little chaotic. We are a little crazy. We do sort of think outside the lines a little bit. But it's a little bit more than that, right? It reflects the energy and the interaction between our communities. It creates an explosive and organic form. It's organized chaos, right? But it represents the impact that the festival has on all of our communities. It's subtle, but the thing I love about this, especially as a marketer, is that when we were working with Howard on building this brand, he listened to us. He really listened to who we were as an organization, and he created this little swirl to tell the story about our festival staff, to tell the story about our volunteers and our artists and our sponsors and our locally positioned businesses and our Des Moines area residents and everybody else that comes from around. Isn't that cool? I just love that. Sort of embedded this thing that you don't really know about, but to us, it speaks to us every time we see it because it reminds us who our partners are in this. It reminds us of who we are and how important who we are is to our day-to-day and our growth as we work outward from our office on a day-to-day basis. Our guests, our artists, they all know what to expect at the Des Moines Arts Festival, and that's the unexpected. Just like our mark, you can expect the unexpected when you come to the festival. I talk to a lot of people about the festival, and every year they're really excited about what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? What's going to be the big project this year? How are you going to engage me? How are you going to engage me? The artists, how do we attract great visual artists from across the country? It's because of that idea that they can come to Des Moines and be welcomed. One of the great things about Des Moines is that we really host well. You do a really good job of walking into the artist booths that are coming from all over the country and thanking them for being here. That's really cool. It's a great thing that you do. Our culture at the Des Moines Arts Festival is really one of community and interaction, engagement. It's our brand. We can't expect to be, shout out to our sponsors. We can't expect for our sponsors to be successful at the Des Moines Arts Festival if they hand out a nice little glossy brochure. That won't work at the Des Moines Arts Festival. You know what will work is if you make the brochure for them while you're in their booth. Get your hands dirty, get involved, get engaged. That's where we're coming from. We work with our sponsors, we work with other organizations to get them engaged, to get them doing something that you will engage with. Our brand also represents a commitment to the industry. I want to share a few ideas. I go across the country. I probably go to 2 or 3 shows a year, other shows other than my own, and I reach out. It's a great shot of our emerging artists in St. Louis, the St. Louis Art Fair. Last 3 years, I have helped manage the Emerging Artist Program at St. Louis Art Fair in Clayton, Missouri. Imagine the surprise of the professional visual artists when they look up from their booth and they see SteveKing from the Des Moines Arts Festival standing in St. Louis. They have to sort of check their GPS to make sure they're in the right city. But this is the kind of collaboration that we want to reach out and we want to do. We want to set the example that we need to get beyond our community and see what other communities are doing and engage young artists in this industry so that 10 years from now, we continue to see the best of the best and continue to engage them. We have to do a better job of that, and we do a better job of that because we're traveling across the country visiting with young artists who are involved with other organizations. In 2001, I went to Chicago, and I sat in a room overlooking the lake there with Anthony Radich, the executive director of the Western State Arts Federation, WESTAF, Matthew Saunders, who was their technology lead, Sherry Brown, who was then the executive director of the Ann Arbor State Street Art Fair in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Larry Alverson, who was at the time the chair of the National Association of Independent Artists. We sat there and we were there to talk about how we can move our industry from paper applications, this is real cutting edge stuff, so pay attention, paper applications to online applications. I was in the room because, are you ready for this? Because 2 years earlier, at the Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival in Fort Worth, I was the only show in the country that we knew of that was creating a PDF of my paper application and putting it online so that an artist could go click on it, download it, print it out, fill it out, send it to me with their slides. Whoa! Innovation. That was huge back then. The old way it was so labor intensive. We were asking artists who were traveling across the country for 2-3 weeks at a time to get the application in the mail, fill it out, put their slides in, and send it back to us. It was virtually impossible for them to do that, right? So we spent the day talking about this. WESTAF is the technology arm of the NEA. They had the ways and the means to do it. The good news, the gist of the story is, 2 years later, WESTAF and 9 show partners who invested in the process, including the Main Street Fort Worth Arts Festival and Celebrate Fairfax, 2 of the organizations that I've been with, launched Zapplication, a universal online application system that now today hosts over 700 shows and over 70,000 artists. This is now the new norm. This is now the new innovation. This is the way that we are jurying artists now from across the country. The jury process itself is really one area where we are really pushing the envelope on a year-to-year basis. It's not easy to take 1,000 applicants and select 195 artists. We engage 5 jurors. 2 of our jurors are past award winners, peer jurors. They're automatically invited, so they don't have to go through the jury process. But we sit in a room for 3 days and go through every single set of images that has been presented to us, and the jury selects those that will be invited. Now, the first round is pretty easy. We ask jurors to sit in front of a computer and score. 1 through 7, no 4s. Thumbs up, thumbs down, right? No forward, no straddling the fence. We then take that, find a median number, and get rid of, I'd say about 60% of the artists. But it's kind of like, that time you had to paint your living room and you put 15 swatches on the wall. It was really easy to get down to the 3 or 4, right? When you get the 3 or 4, those swatches stay on your wall for about 6 months, right? Because you just can't make up your mind. That's their job, and they have to do it in less than 24 hours. So they have to take all of these. After the first round, we put the computers away, and we ask the jurors to raise their hand. You want to keep the artist in the show? Get that hand up. If you want to just get them to the next round, put your hand up. So every single round, there's typically has been 3, 4, in some mediums there's 5 or 6 rounds in which every single round we're peeling off 1 or 2 artists and we're creating a show. So the jury is also looking for balance. They're looking at a fiber category. This is really exciting stuff, isn't it? They're looking at a fiber medium, for example, and Steven's telling them, I need at least half of them to be wearable fiber and the other half to be non-wearable fiber, right? I have to, because I know my audience. My audience, ladies, you like wearable fibers. You buy a lot of wearable fiber at my festival. So if I don't have any, I'm in trouble, right? So they go through this process, and they narrow it down, they whittle it down to the 185 artists that we then invite. We have 10 spaces that we keep out for the award winners. They're automatically invited. We get to our 195. It's really a fascinating process. And just FYI, look for it. It's open to the public on the Wednesday night prior to them getting down and dirty about it. We open that up to the public. So you're invited to come and see that process and see this room and see the jurors in actions. It's really a very cool process. 3 years ago, we went to a New Directions program in which we encouraged our professional visual artists to get outside their box. That's the kind of event that we have. That's the kind of culture that we've created. I got a call 2 months ago from Brian Richards. Ella Richards is one of our artists. They called to say, hey, we're thinking about doing a video installation project. Could we do that in Des Moines? Could we bring that with us? To me, that's incredibly exciting. That means we're stepping forward. We're the kind of event that Brian Richards will call and ask, hey, can we bring that to your event? Without really even thinking about it. We are so excited about that prospect and that possibility of introducing all of you to a new art form. Medium descriptions. Every year we go through this, we battle, back and forth. We've got forums, we've got photographers trying to define what photography is, ceramics trying to define what ceramics is, all these kinds of things. We worked really hard on all these definitions. My guess is, at least right now, we're about 80% sure next year this is going out the window. Who am I to define what people are doing? Artists are crossing so many lines now that you couldn't have said that 5 years ago, but they're crossing so many lines, they're doing so many different cool things that it's really not up to me to define for those artists what they're doing. So we're going to let them define. And I guarantee you it's going to send shockwaves to the industry because some artists really like to be defined. They don't like other people infringing on their medium. So it's a really particular kind of a crazy scenario in which we are defining for them what they should be and asking them to fit inside of our box. So let's get rid of the box. Digital art. This is a shot of Kenneth Huff's work. Kenneth Huff is one of the original digital artists. I use air quotes. I can't believe I just did that. Don't record that. Cut that part out. He is a true digital artist. He created this piece entirely from code. It's not in Illustrator. It's not in Photoshop. He developed a code in which he writes the code and creates the art piece from the code. It is so cutting edge, breaking into so many new different things. Video arts is something that we want to get into too as we get down the road. So we are always continually pushing that envelope to see how we can inspire not only you as our audience, but our artists as well. About 20 years ago, I went to Bumper Shoot. It's a great festival in Seattle if you've never been. Fantastic. They were doing a little art project. people were sitting in a room and they were painting these little tiles that were about that big, right? And then they were taking these tiles and they were transferring them to a canvas that was about, I don't know, the size of a couple of banquet tables, right? They're taking it over here, I'm doing it over here, and then I'll put it on here, and it was sort of making a bigger piece. That stuck with me. If you're doing the math, that was 20 years ago. It was a long time. That was as I was starting to break into the business, it stayed with me. So in 2007, we did our own thing in Des Moines, Iowa. We took that small project and we turned it into what is now what we're known for, really, is our large-scale interactive billboard project. Anyone in this room has taken part in this? Anyone? Yep. So yes, thank you very much. This is an incredible, fun engagement piece that we have been so proud to produce over the last several years. I think we've done it at least 5 times. This is how it works. You get a little 1 foot by 1 foot panel with your little piece up there. If there was a little thing on here, I'd show it to you, but I don't know where it is. So Q01, so you're getting the smaller piece of the larger piece, the little square. Your job is to take that little square and put it on that other square to draw it. Anybody remember those, from 8th grade art, your little viewfinder box where you can divide it into squares? Pretty fun, right? My friend Travis, who I call every single year, and he picks up the phone, he said, "Oh, what have you got this year?" Because it's also a great challenge for him, but I always push the envelope with Travis. Imagine one day when I said, yes, I do. I want a 40 by 50 foot billboard built on my festival site, and you've got to do it in a couple of hours. So are you ready? So he helps me put these kinds of things together. It's really good to have a community that will open their arms like that. Here's a great shot of folks working hard to create their tile, and this is probably one of my favorite pictures ever taken of the Arts Festival. This, people, is who we are. Isn't that great? A father and a son sitting down. There's no electronic device in front of them, right? We're not playing video games. We're not checking our text messages. We're really engaged with each other, creating a piece of artwork that then is going to become part of a bigger community piece. I just love that photograph. It really speaks to who we are. And again, always trying to think of what's new, what's different. One year, we decided that doing a famous painting, so to speak, was really not something we wanted to do, a little something different. We engaged Rob Reeves, who's a local artist, to paint a skyscape of downtown Des Moines, and we took that particular piece and turned it into a billboard. Really a terrific engagement piece. Gets a little over 1,200 tiles on some of these bigger pieces. Really a terrific engagement piece. Gets our audience thinking. And every year we come up with something. We want to find something that's really going to engage you and push the envelope for us and create a wow for you and for us. Give us all something to talk about. I think it's also important to dream a little, right? Our 20th anniversary is coming up pretty soon. We're celebrating 18, 20. I'm here to tell you, mark my words, you heard it here first. I've been working on it for about 4 years now, but I'm going to get dancers on the side of the Nationwide building. They're going to dance for you on the side of a building on the 20th anniversary. I need all of you to help me with that, okay? So anybody, anytime, anybody see anybody with a building that's tall, that's around our festival site, I want dancers there, 20th anniversary. You'll love it, I'll love it, right? Can you imagine? That would be so cool. Collaboration is a big part of what we do too. This year we're collaborating with the Metro Arts Alliance. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary this year, doing a public art piece that's going to have a permanent home at the Des Moines Airport, and you get to help build it at the Des Moines Arts Festival. So for 3 days, we're going to assemble this public art piece, and then after the festival, we're going to move it to the airport where it's going to live out its life. And this, can you push play? Is that going to play? I hope. Maybe not. This is where we do the interpretive dance.
Central Station. Rotterdam.
This is called Standard Time, Rotterdam. years ago, the Rotterdam Festivals commissioned the artist Mark Formiak. I know I'm totally screwing up that name. Commissioned Mark to do standard time. And essentially what it was 24 hours at a starting point. I think it was 5 a.m. to 5 a.m. A group of artists changed the time, the digital clock, every 60 seconds. We're going to bring this to Des Moines. We're going to bring Mark here, and we're going to do standard time from 11 a.m. when we open on Friday to 5 p.m. on Sunday when we close. Pretty cool, huh? Are you going to remember that? You're going to remember that. You're going to be talking about that for a very long time. It's so cool. You know how I found out about this? I was at the IFEA convention, and Johan, who runs the Rotterdam Festivals, who actually was here last June at the Des Moines Arts Festival, Johan had it set up on a computer. He was selling it as part of the silent auction. He had a little program, and I bought it. I thought it was so cool. I bought it. When you plug it into your computer, it actually syncs with your clock. So it's like a screensaver in real time. So it tells you the time in real time. But I started thinking about it and had conversations with Johan. I said, Johan, I got to bring this to Des Moines. I got to do it. And he's like, oh, it's such a good idea. Let's do this. Let's bring Mark over. Let's do. So again, collaboration. We're so excited about the possibility of working on this. I hope it happens this year. If it doesn't, it'll definitely happen in the next year. There's a lot to it, as you can possibly see, right? All right, and next slide. Can I change it to the next slide? Oops, I went too far. Sorry. Oh, no, that was the big finish. There we go. And this. You know, I would argue that innovation, engagement, and creating that wow engagement experience is right in front of you right now, every day. Everywhere you go, that engagement piece, that wow experience is right in front of you. I do it every single day. My kids don't like going to festivals with me because I walk around and go, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm always sort of taking and thinking about different ideas. I took this photograph while I was standing in line for a taco at a taco shack in San Antonio, Texas. I thought, that's pretty cool. I like that. Well, be on the lookout for it, for something like this at the festival this year. Because that's what we're going to leave you with, is if you could change the world, what would you do? What's your story? How are you going to engage? How are you going to engage with the rest of the world? And here's the thing. This is not some brainiac idea, right? I stole this. I stole this idea while standing in line in San Antonio at a taco shack. But here's the thing about festivals and events. Stealing one idea is called stealing. You steal more than one idea, it's called market research. Thank you very much. Are we going to answer?